Hey folks, OPTCG here, and in today's video we have a bit of a different one. So I'm going to be talking about my expectations or my kind of wants for the upcoming ban list. I think we're going to be finding out this weekend what the Asian players are going to have to deal with when it comes to a ban list from O8. So yeah, a little bit of a caveat. Obviously I'm in a different environment. I'm actually in London right now for like a work trip, and it's very hard for me to make content, so I thought we'll just do a quick discussion video because, you know, it's very easy to be able to film and, you know, I can still get stuff out of there. But yeah, so looking at the upcoming ban list, this ban list is going to be in effect for OP08 for as much as we know. And yeah, it's a bit of an odd one really, because ban lists always are. I think like the only real like card games that like are very much used to them will be like Yu-Gi-Oh, because they have them very often. I know Magic the Gathering also has them, and like other Bandai games in the past like Digimon used to have them, but definitely not like exceptionally like regularly or anything like that. And now the reason that I think the ban list has come across more than anything is because in Asia RP law is kind of going rampant. And I think that's the headline that everyone is used to, and this video could could just be me saying let's ban RP law, the end, right? But I also think there are other decks that are problematic in the format. So the second deck over there that's being the most problematic is definitely Lucci at the moment. It's got a high amount of tops very easily, still beneath RP law. I think that's definitely in a tier 0 space right now, especially in the OP08 format. Not so much in the OP07. OP07 is very varied. There are a lot of decks that like are in tier 1, I would say. I don't think there's a clear-cut tier 0 deck, but in OP08 RP law gets even more support in the form of the new card Black Moria, which allows it to just basically gain all of its Don back, which is the biggest downside for RP law. Originally, right, with the way you play is that you have to manage your resources very well. Black Moria kind of just says, go wild kid, draw as many cards as you want, play as many rushes as you want, make your board as full as you want, because I'm just going to give you all your Don back. Also remove your opponent's cards with the form of the Gordon and the Raise Max. So yeah, it's coming into effect, and I think we're definitely, so just number one, we're obviously going to see something for RP law. I would be so unbelievably shocked if this ban list didn't have anything for RP law. I think it's honestly it's like 99% probability that there's going to be a hit to RP. I think that's the main reason that this has come about, and I think when it comes to like what I think is going to happen, I think at the bare minimum it's just going to be the leader that's going to be banned. I think RP law as a leader is going to be banned. I don't think and I would hope that they're not going to ban Black Moria after it's literally just been released, but we have seen them do that in the past with the form of like Reject. It got banned like just at the end of the format when it had just been released. So like Black Moria is coming out in OP08. We may not even be able to play with it. Reject we didn't have for that long. So yeah, it would shock me, but it wouldn't, because again, they've done it in the past. But I would like to see RP law as a leader banned and Black Moria kept, because I think there's a lot of new purple decks that would gain a lot of value from the Black Moria and put them more towards those competitive era decks. For example, the pudding that just came out, you being able to use big character effects that reduce Don but then get it back would be really nice. And I still think it has like a nice pace to it. I think the problem with Black Moria and RP law is the fact that you just immediately gain like immense value straight off the bat. You're able to put it down, it's just there, right? Like immediately giving you value. Whereas I feel like in some of these other like clunkier, more late game based decks, it gives you time to be able to counteract the fact that your opponent's playing a Black Moria, and it's not as oppressive straight off the get-go. So yeah, I imagine it's going to be RP law. RP law is going to go, but what are some of the other cards that I would like to see go? And it's kind of a weird one for me to say this. I want Moria to go. I would like Moria, 8-cost Moria, I mean, go to either 1, restricted to 1 copy per deck, or 0. I would be perfectly fine with 0. Another reason I say that is because I feel like it would revitalize the meta like hugely. If we look at the decks that currently utilize 8-cost Moria, we have Lucci, which is the like prime candidate, and a deck that I do think needs to be hit. I do think like if RP law wasn't as oppressive as it was, Lucci would just take its place. Like immediately, I think everyone would be on Lucci, similar to how everyone was on Sakazuki. I think with the more support, just in general, that it has, it's becoming as flushed out as Saka was. Maybe not as dominant because of the like discarding and the consistency that Sakazuki had, but Lucci just as a deck in general, I think would be more of a problem if RP Law wasn't as popular. So Akos Moria is in Lucci, it's in BY Luffy, which is a deck that people have been complaining about a lot, especially because kind of once it begins its loop, it's very difficult to get it out of its loop, and a large proportion of that loop is Akos Moria. It's you self-damage a bunch early, get a big hand, you know, get yourself to low life so that you can start your cycle with your babies, and then you get to the point when you're on 10 Don where you can just go 2 Don on lead, Akos Moria, play 2 babies, cycle, Sabo. You know, jobs are good, and your lead is 9k base, your hand's this big, you have a huge board that can't be removed because of the 5-cost Sabo. And then you also have a 9-cost body that's quite difficult to remove because it's an 8-cost, so a 9k body, yeah. So yeah, I would like to see that go. I think it's a weird one because we have Blackbeard on the horizon, and I've talked about how I feel like Blackbeard as a deck is great when there is problematic cards in the format that are on play, so huge value cards such as Moria, for example. So you being able to turn off an opponent's Moria on curve, really good. Banning a card that would probably be one of its main ones, is that going to impact Blackbeard? Not that much, but I think it would just be weird. I feel like Blackbeard would be a great answer to decks running Moria, and again, you can't run it yourself, so if more people are on Blackbeard, there's less Moria in the format, for example. So I don't know if they're going to ban it, because that might just become a natural repellent for people to play other black decks that are so reliant on play cards. I spoke quite openly about how I feel about Blackbeard. Like, I actually don't think it's that bad. I just think like it's not to the level of excitement that I've been like pushed behind it right now, but I do think it'll be good, and my opinion might change in the future when we see more like cards added to it. I've already seen some lists, for example, with like 7-cost Jack, which just has an activate main ability, which immediately allows you to get like super nice value. It can deal with some of the removal aspects that I feel like Blackbeard is going to struggle with, because a lot of Black's removal is on play, or yeah, well, there is, you're gonna have to, yeah. Anyway, this isn't about Blackbeard, but yeah, Akos Moria, I'd like to see that go to 1 or 0. I think a few people feel kind of similar to that. We've had fun with it for a while. I was shocked when it first came out, and I'm still shocked that it survived as long as it has now, like survived all the way like longer than Sakazuki, for example, and the card's just problematic. Like in OP07, Lucci can literally play 4 characters from it because of Spandine. Now, speaking of Spandine, if Akos Moria doesn't get hit, I'd like to see Spandine get hit. I think being able to play so many characters like that is ridiculous, honestly. Like, you're able to just fill your entire board from 1 card, which is just honestly not okay. Like, and if Spandine doesn't hit, I would like to see Rebecca, 4-cost Rebecca blocker. And I love the card. I think it's great. It's just been in the meta for a long time, and it's a really, really solid card. It allows you to just become more oppressive with other cards that I would like to see hit, like 5-cost Sabo. I think one of those 4 black cards is going to get hit. I think more than likely it's going to be Moria. Second in place, I would like it to be Sabo. I think the card is ridiculous. Like, it makes like other decks being able to remove your cards really near impossible when you're playing dark, which is actually super, like, that's where the oppression can come from, where it's like you're playing a very heavy control deck that also says you can't remove my cards, which is kind of ridiculous. And then Spandine and Rebecca, kind of on hand. I think if you answer either is perfectly fine with me. I don't like Spandine specifically because of Moria, so again, if they answered any one of these, I'd kind of be a bit more okay. I would really like Moria to go over the rest, because I think like it puts Black into such like, well, I've got to run 4 of that, right? Like, we just got a new 8-cost Sabo that came out, and people have hardly looked at it, because why would you run another 8-cost when you have Moria? Like, if you get rid of Moria, you can run Sabo, which is amazing removal and more like to what Black would do, other than just like playing cards from your trash. So other cards I want to see gone. So in my eyes, if you remove RP Law and you remove Moria, I think the best deck in the format is going to become blue. And a card that I can't stand, and I'm sure you probably can't stand it unless you're a blue player yourself, is the 4-cost pudding. So yeah, I mentioned this in the group chat, and someone was like, Graham was like, "You're just a tilted BY Luffy player," and part of that's true, but the reason I don't like it is because it puts games in such a weird space. Like when you're playing against blue, you want to be able to like hold up your resources and remove their board a little bit, but you can't do that, and you have to take the damage, and the bodies are huge, but like you have to counter out, otherwise you might get puddinged. And I think it's like, in my mind, it's such a weird card for blue to have. Like it's seen like in a vacuum, it's a really bad printing of a card. Like it limits the game in capacity of what you can do. And the reason I think I like it is it removes a lot of like the hand control aspect of like what you're countering with, what cards you're utilizing, the pacing of the game, and the control that you have over yourself. Now, a good point was raised when I was talking about this is that we already have card removal cards like Isho or 4-cost Law or the other blue Law, which hand removes, but I see those as cards that have a limit to the impact that they could have, whereas pudding can either be very minimal impact by shuffling your hand in, or extreme impact by like for example, with Isho, you're always at max going to discard 2 cards, whether they're good or bad. You're always at max going to discard 2. Same with the Law, and same, well, obviously one with the 4-cost Law as well. And like we obviously have some other discard cards like Perona and stuff, but they're limited. My issue with the pudding is that it's not. The sky is the limit, right? If your opponent has 11 cards in hand, you can make them discard 6, and I think that is very unhealthy for the game. I think, and my biggest problem with it, I think it like limits card design space for blue. I love blue. I want to be able to play blue more, but I just can't see them being in a vacuum where you have blue being the best deck and also having access to 4-cost pudding, because it's like, oh, I have really, really strong, really, really impactful cards, and then also I can just make my opponent discard like half their hand and shuffle it back. So I think it's a lot. I would like to see it go maybe to 1, for example. That's one where like I don't feel like it needs to be banned. I feel like if you see the 1 and you put it in, I think that's a nice tech card, right? It still keeps like something in your opponent's mind, for example. So yeah, let's get rid of that. I hate that card so much. I think it's really, really bad. What are some other cards? Does purple need anything banning right now? Black Moria, again, we've talked about that. I don't want to see that go. And in that, I don't think there's honestly anything else that's very oppressive. Honestly, right now, I would love to see purple get some actual support that's impactful. Like, we're getting pudding, and like, it's kind of just like, cool. And I think that's the problem, right? Is that like purple's had a lot of cards where they come out and you go, the deck's cool, but like, what next? And like we had purple Luffy, and I loved that deck, and I loved that deck when we played it, and that was nice because you were playing things, but a lot of the cards in it weren't really that strong. It was just the fact that you could play them out at a nice tempo during a meta where like being able to play tempo and play cards where you don't want them removed, your opponent doesn't want to remove them, was really strong. So yeah, nothing really screams ban for purple for me other than Black Maria. Please don't ban it. I want to play purple. Yellow. So again, I just said that like if they ban Opulo and they ban the Akos Moria, that blue will probably become the best deck. I do kind of still believe that. But the other deck is yellow. An L is disgusting, right? Like 10-cost Ace is horrible to deal with. Like it's really good value, and I think Anel's one of those where it's a skill check, but also sometimes Anel just has it, right? Like there are obviously problem cards like Bej, 9-cost Yamato, the 0-cost event is one that I've been annoying people a lot. The one who can surpass all bidda. I sounded like the snails. But yeah, I don't think anything needs to get hit, honestly. I think, again, we've just talked about Blackbeard. I think Blackbeard is a natural repellent for an L. Imagine trying to play the game when your opponent just says, here's a 10-cost that completely like makes your leader power make nothing. So yeah, I think that will become a bit of a natural repellent. On that, I don't actually think that's as scary as it sounds unless you get like back-to-back 10 costs, because it costs 10. So it's like, yeah, you can turn off a leader ability, but like unless you have a huge board and on top of that, then play the 10 cost, that's the only time that that's scary. So if you go 10 cost, swing for 5, it's like, okay, that's 1k counter. Like, it is what it is, but I do think it'll become a natural repellent. And red needs something. Like, nothing screams to me for red. Give us some source. Ban these cards so I can start playing aggro again, so that I stop having to face down Lucci. One thing that I do actually hope, and I do find really interesting, is maybe if we get these like slower, control-y black decks, such as Blackbeard, for example, red might be able to slip back in because your 1 costs won't be as removed because they can't run the likes of like Lucci or Brook, or, you know, random 1k killers as fast. It goes back to like how old black used to be able to deal with it, which was like play 1 card, kill 1 card, you play 1 card, you know, deal with it that way. I would like to see red come back into the meta. Like, there were decks that I wanted to try that just haven't been able to play since Sakazuki time, never mind where we are now with RP Law and with Lucci, and like Dragon came out and I was like, this deck is awesome. But then you play a card, it just gets removed. You play a card, it just gets removed. And it's a deck that relies on the fact that you have a board, right? So yeah, I think overall my biggest hope for this is that we're able to ban things to just freshen everything up, right? I think it'll be annoying at first because you'll lose your RP Law deck, which is quite expensive, or you'll lose your Lucci deck or your BY Luffy deck, which is all quite expensive. But in the grand scheme of things, I want to be able to play in metas where like I can try and cook a little bit, right? I want to be able to build decks where I'm like, maybe this will work, and I don't have this big overhanging, looming ACOS Moria in my face looking at it. Or you have RP Law that just plays 4 cards in 2 turns and you go, okay, it's turn 3. Yeah, I think that my thoughts, it was very rambly. I think the main ones that I covered were what? RP Law, it's gonna go. ACOS Moria, I would like to see 5 cost Sabo, and I would like to see 4 cost Pudding. They're probably the 4. There you go. 5 cost Sabo. I love the card. It's great to play, but like, it's been out for a while, and like, if they get rid of 5 cost Sabo, I can start to play red and run Jet Pistol, for example, and actually KO something instead of you just going Sabo effect. You can't kill anything. And plus, if they ban Sabo, you still have access to Borsalino, which is an insane blocker. Like, people pooped on it when Moria will come around, but like, still having, like, it revitalizes that mentality of like, oh, maybe this is actually still good. Yeah, gives us more room to deck build instead of it just being, well, this is a 4 of. Yeah, they're my thoughts. They're my rambly rambles while I'm on my work trip. Let me know what cards you'd like to be banned. Is there anything I've missed? Oh, Nami. People have talked about Nami a little bit, about wanting to get hit. It's just had like its first major win, and then it's just had like 2 second place and some other, quite a few top 8s. It's in quite a good spot right now. I've already talked about how I feel about Nami. I don't like solitaire decks. I don't belittle it in any way. I think it's a difficult deck to play really well. I just also think it's unhealthy for the game. So if they do ban anything, I don't know what they could ban. Kaya? Is that it? It's just all events. Like, it would have to probably be Kaya, right? Like, if they're gonna hit it, I don't think there's any like one event that like rings out to me apart from like Sanji's Pilaf, but I don't want them to ban that because that's just a nice draw card for blue. So Kaya, because there's other 2k options, and I feel like it will slow it down for now, which is kind of how I feel like if they ever do any limitations to Nami, they'll do it so it's not just going to kill the deck, but it'll slow it down aggressively. I think originally, in my mind, they'd made Nami so that it was like, you can sometimes win, not more consistently always be able to like do your full loops. And like, seeing Nami at where it is now compared to where it was like a few formats ago kind of makes me sad, because like originally it was like Zephs and stuff and going that route, and that was like, oh well, if I can answer that, maybe I can answer with your things, and it was more of a back and forth. Now it's kind of just like, all right, draw turn, pass. Oh, you attack me? Okay, event. I've got to memorize what's on the bottom and in my stack, and okay, I've used these resources, and that's that. And that's why people call it solitaire now, because originally it was like more about playing out your characters and doing your pacing that way. Now it's literally just like, I drew these colors, so now I can play solitaire well. So yeah, I don't think it'll get hit. I don't think it's topped enough to have to worry about. And also, it's like more of a Western problem is what I'm saying. I don't know if I saw any tops from the East for Nami, so but I don't know whether that's just because we play Nami more, and it's not on their radar, or maybe they just deal with it better than we do. I don't know. Yeah, them's my thoughts. Thank you very much. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see banned or what you expect to be banned, and have a great day. Peace.